The Penguin is out in full on Max, the spin-off sequel show to The Batman, the 2022 film version with Robert Pattinson. This follows the character introduced and played both in that film and here by the wonderful and unrecognizable Colin Farrell. More on that later. He's joined by Kristen Milioti and Renzi Fellis, and the show is a limited series with a single season, 8 episodes around 1 hour each. The story starts almost immediately after the conclusion of the Batman movie, in the next couple of days. Part of the city has been flooded, Carmine Falcone is dead, there's chaos and confusion, especially in the city's underbelly. Oz Cobb, the Penguin, sees this as an opportunity to claw his way up within the ranks and play the existing crime families against one another, only to come out on top himself and become the new kingpin of Gotham. But he has a surprising rival. Sophia Falcone, daughter of Carmine, gets released from Arkham Asylum after years of being incarcerated there for multiple murders. And just like the Penguin, she is hungry for power. She needs recognition, she wants money, she feels she has been slighted in the past, and so they come into conflict. So first things first, this is not a superhero show in the traditional sense, even though it is part of a superhero universe. Batman does not appear in this show, there are no supernatural or fantastical elements. What the show is instead is a gritty adult crime show inspired heavily by things like The Sopranos and Scarface. Like those two, it is brutal, violent, focuses on crime and follows a character who is a monster and a villain, but somehow charismatic enough that you sort of root for him regardless of reasons not to. Secondly, it is very good at what it's doing. No joke, this is one of the best superhero related shows of all time in my book, next to things like Legion and Daredevil, which I think is helped by, again, not really being a superhero thing in itself. The main strength of the show, I would say, is its consistency. It is consistent in its writing as far as characters and their motivations and actions make sense. There are no silly plot points, no contrivances, no deus ex machinas, no bullshit. These feel like real people doing what real people like them would do in these situations. It is consistent in its atmosphere and portrayal of Gotham as a shitty, rundown, grimy place, and that extends to also being consistent with what was presented in the film. The underbelly of the city has a texture to it. It has a great vibe that fits what the story is about. It is consistent in being what it advertises itself to be. What I mean is, I've seen numerous recent shows, especially on the Disney, so Marvel side of things, but also things like Star Wars. When you have a show titled like the main character, but then the show gets hijacked by some random new side characters which nobody cares about. Take Obi-Wan Kenobi, for example. Half that show was about Reva, a stupid, badly written new character. The Penguin is remarkably about the Penguin. We follow him, we spend time with him, we get to understand him. Especially the first 2 episodes are almost exclusively scenes from his point of view. We don't really jump to other storylines. Eventually, we do, as the other players are introduced, but still every plotline either revolves around Penguin or at least involves him directly. I think it's great. Now, I'm finally going to talk about the performances, which are sort of the backbone of the show and are fantastic. People online have praised Kristen Milioti for her performance as Sophia, and rightly so, but this is Colin Farrell's show, and boy oh boy does he deliver. Already in the movie, it was remarkable how much he disappeared into the role. I mean, between the fat suit, the makeup and prosthetics, which cover basically his entire face, the changed voice and the accent and the limp, it's literally like he's becoming a different person. And in the show, there's just more of that, and it's fucking impressive. I mean, you could put the show on side by side with a photo of the real Colin Farrell and watch it like that, and still you can't see him there most of the time. There's some individual moments, glimpses, where you can see him in the eyes, or maybe an individual mannerism or some facet of the voice comes through. But 99% of the time, it's a completely different person. But the truly impressive part is that it's not just a gimmick or a caricature. Through all these elements, he manages to deliver a layered, deep, believable performance. He's a compelling character, someone you watch with true fascination, someone you recognize as a despicable monster, yet can't help but root for. The way he constantly gets in trouble and gets caught and has to worm his way out of situations through lies, deception, bullshit, and simply betrayal is incredibly entertaining to watch. And I think, even with a weaker performance, the show is still pretty good, but with that incredible centerpiece, it's elevated to great. And finally, I appreciate that it doesn't drag things out and leave things unresolved for future seasons. A decision was made up front that this would be a one-off, limited series, and even though, without spoiling the ending, the doors are certainly open for at least some characters to return in future movies or other shows, I do not expect a second season of The Penguin specifically, which is a good thing. It tells a complete, finished story and does it well. It was a blast to see it from beginning to end.